Today's first episode, we are doing Log City Trail Cemetery. So,
What developed your interest in Log City Cemetery?
it's a small cemetery that is located on the campus of Carl Sandburg Community College. It has 3 headstones, and what is the story of that, right?
Yeah. During the construction of the campus, they discovered a forgotten cemetery.
And so there you are. We have 3 headstones. There's possibly more that are buried within the campus, but only these 3 have been shown and preserved, quote unquote, right? So I guess my question to start is, what is Log City Trail? Or Log City Cemetery, I should say.
Okay. Well, from what I understand, during the War of 1812, the soldiers in that war were compensated with a land grant. They called it military land grants for the newly acquired Western territories, including Knox County, Illinois. So Knox County, Illinois had these military land grants that were compensation for the soldiers of the War of 1812. So after the war, some of these soldiers went on west with their families, settled in the frontier. There were no other settlers here. They were some of the early ones. And it started out as just a few settlers developing their homesteads. And then the settlers developed what they called Log City, right here by Lake Story, Galesburg, Illinois.
So the Treaty of St. Louis was established in 1804. It was conducted by William Henry Harrison on behalf of the United States and with the Sauk and Meskwaki tribes. The treaty was a transfer of land, huge transfers that were between the Mississippi and Illinois River, lands that were owned by these tribes, thus bringing in that military tract, right?
Right, and because recently the War of 1812 had happened and the United States did not have a lot of money to compensate the soldiers in the War of 1812, part of the compensation that was offered to these soldiers was 160 and later up to 320 acres of land that they could settle in what they called the Western Military Tracts. And Knox County was a part of this military tract. So settlers started coming in about the 1830s, late 1820s, 1830s, settled here. They had homesteads, ended up developing little settlements, Log City being one of them. And that is about the time that Blackhawk decided that this treaty that was signed in St. Louis by William Harrison was not legitimate. That treaty was not representative of all the tribes that actually used this land and lived here. So his intention was to take that land back. And at that point, the settlers who were here and he started having some conflicts, each feeling that they had a legitimate claim to the land.
Which then, of course, caused the Blackhawk conflict or the Blackhawk War within this area.
Most of the people who, from what I understand, fought in this war, or it was considered they were protecting their family, their home. So these were civilian militias who built little forts that their families could go to in case of a conflict.
So in this conflict with the Blackhawk War, we have a man named William Lewis Sr. William Lewis was born in Greene, Kentucky, 1805, and he died in 1887 in Log City.
And he came to Knox County, from what I understand, in about 1829.
Right.
So one of the very early settlers in Knox County.
He served in this conflict, and he also had 3 wives spanning in his life. We have Sarrah Davis, his first, Elizabeth Isabel Duval, his second, and Susan Randall, his third. In this graveyard, two of his granddaughters, Sarrah E. Lewis and Gennetie Lewis, were the children of one of his sons, Francis Marion Lewis, from his first marriage. These two girls are buried with their grandfather here at this cemetery.
And we think they were infants. We know the one little girl was, I think, 4 months old.
4 months old.
We're not sure about the other one. There were no birth records at that time. There was no county courthouse or anything like that. So the records are kind of sparse. Nothing's on the gravestone to indicate her date of birth, but we do feel like she was either a baby or a young child when she was born. There's a third gravestone in the cemetery, and at this point we are not sure whose stone that is. We could not elicit any kind of print on the stone, but we did clean it up and we put some wet it and forget it on the stone, hoping that in maybe 1 or 2 months we'll be able to see something to indicate whose stone that was.
On the William Lewis stone, it does have the inscription of W.M. Lewis, 2nd Illinois MTD, Val's Blackhawk War. And if you look into that, that means it's the 2nd Regiment of Illinois Mounted Volunteers, which thus concludes more evidence that people who settled here were involved in this conflict with the natives.
Right, it was a civilian militia that complemented what Illinois militias were in the territory, and they were essentially protecting their homes.
As for any other information that regards with the Lewis family, a lot of the grandchildren started to spread out and move to other territories, such in Iowa, some returning into the Galesburg settlement, and some even going far as south to Arizona and Texas as the years have transpired. So the Lewis family has definitely scattered, you know, and if there are any other Lewises that are buried on the campus of Sandburg, possibly lost to the field, but these three are still there today, and you can find them there on the Log City Trail. So this concludes pretty much all of the information that we have on Log City Cemetery. If you enjoyed this story, give us a like, give us a follow, and we will see you on the next episode. We're doing Potters. Is that the next one?
I'd like to do Potter Cemetery, another pioneer cemetery in Warren County.
All right.
Just a neighboring county here.
So we can't wait to see you for episode 2. Have a good one, guys.